Hi, friends. We are here to talk about the latest episode of season 4 of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And, we start out with whatever was happening at the beginning didn't really necessarily move me because I just feel like Monica's scenes are really performative now. So I feel like when I'm watching it, I'm just trying to get to the point of like, what are we trying to convey here? Like, what story is she trying to tell? So I really didn't get too much into it. We get to Angie and Sean, who, interestingly enough, I wrote down as Justin, but Sean, and they're going out to eat and they're having a conversation, continuing their storyline that, they haven't spent much time together since they've been married and or recently in their marriage, and that they spend more time just kind of as a couple with their daughter. We do get more context to them like having the conversation and saying I think he has said it's been like 2 years that they've been in this rough patch. And I'm wondering, this was just me, I was wondering like, that sounds about the time when she started being more involved with the show or like involved with it in the first place. So I'm like, I wonder if like her involvement with the show has played any piece in that, but that's just my mind going. So in that 2 years, they say, it's been a while and they haven't really spent time together. That's what they surmise. We need to spend time together. So cool, great. Moving on. We get to Heather and Lisa, and it's nice again to see them getting along this season and just kind of like hanging out and do little stuff. It was cute that Heather got the Wendy's for Lisa, so that was cute. We always get these scenes where they're flashing back to something they didn't show us on the episode, but it felt like they showed us a whole like mini episode of this conversation with Heather and Monica. They went out to have drinks, and they're kikiing and cackling about Monica and Bermuda, which she talked about in her scene at the beginning of the episode that we didn't talk about. And they decide that's where they're going to go on a trip. Finally, they get to go out of the U.S. now that they don't have Jen around. So, it should be fun. But Heather's like, you got to invite everybody, including Lisa. And I feel like, you guys should make up. But the way she characterized it to Lisa was that she told Monica to apologize. So I'm wondering if she said it like that and like catered the way that it was being said to Lisa to try to like persuade Lisa, like, oh, let me stroke Lisa's ego and let her know that I had her back, tell Monica to apologize to her, so like that's really gonna get her going. But Lisa is just kind of like, it is what it is, like I'm fine, whatever, because Monica was even like, okay, fine, like I'll make up with her, appreciated that. And then Lisa's just like, but I don't even need an apology, which is good because that's not what Monica said she was going to do. I mean, I guess making up and talking about it, fine, but it's not an apology. So yeah, Lisa's like, I don't need an apology. Like I just feel like I'm over it. Like it's dead. Like there's nothing there. So she really doesn't want anything to do with Monica. But Monica can be there, and they'll do their thing. They'll be cordial or whatever. Fine. I don't have any problem with either side of that. Make up, get along, whatever. But girl, let's go to Bermuda. But I do like how Heather brought it to Lisa, and she was like, I don't want you to feel like this is me like starting stuff or trying to do anything weird. Like I genuinely just want you guys to make up so it can be a good trip. We get to Whitney and Angie, and at this point I'm kind of like, because I'm like, we just talked about Angie and Sean, and we kind of went back down that rabbit hole. So we finally get to the point where like Whitney is, because I'm wondering like, why is this happening? Y'all know how I am. Like I watch it and I'm like, okay, why is this happening? And I'm just so matter of fact. I'm sorry. So finally we get the point that Whitney relates to her because her and Justin went through the same thing where they need to spend more time together. But we get more from Whitney. I'm like, okay, this is really a Whitney scene. Great. Thank you for bringing us here. Getting to the plot, and Whitney's just like, she and Justin recently went somewhere. I don't know where they were, I forgot, but I guess they were having a conversation, and she asked him like, do you even want to do this anymore? And he's like, I don't know, do you? Or it might have been in the reverse, but whatever. Both of them asked their spouse, do you even want to do this, meaning the marriage, anymore? So they had that conversation, and the question and answer, and the answer was, I don't know. So they're in an interesting spot, to say the least. Whitney goes back to her point that she previously made, and she's like, the dynamics in their relationship have shifted, meaning that, Whitney's working now, so it's more of a 50-50 thing. And I'm obviously not married, but I always wonder, like, wow, does that dynamic shift really cause you, if this quickly, I guess it's been such a quick turnaround, I just don't feel like it's been a long time, maybe down the line as it builds up, but this quickly, does that dynamic shift cause a couple to want to maybe not be involved in their marriage anymore? Like, that's extreme, but she does give more of what I think is like the undertone of it, like reading between the lines. And she's like, I'm a little bit more expressive around the house and I have more of an opinion. So that I'm like, okay, that gives me a little bit more color. She also says, interestingly enough, because people like this exist, but I don't feel like I hate to, people like this exist like they're aliens. But no, that's not what I mean. But like people with this opinion exist, but I feel like you don't necessarily hear it on these like reality TV shows. Like I don't really know like in Housewives land. I don't feel like I've heard any housewives come out and say like they don't feel like monogamy is natural and people are meant to be married to the same person forever. So I was like, okay, like I never really expected to hear that from Whitney. It doesn't necessarily shock me in any particular way. I just was not expecting it. So it's interesting to know that she has that perspective, and it's also more interesting to know that her husband Justin does not, and he doesn't like when she says that, because I was thinking about it too. Like I'm like, that is a different perspective, and people do feel that way. I think it's natural to feel that way, but I don't know that I would want to be in a relationship with somebody that feels that way. There's such a fine line between acknowledging that it's possible and there's some truth in it, but also just like, don't bring that into my household. Like we married. I don't want to hear that. So, that's an interesting dynamic, and I'm hoping they get into that more because I'm interested to hear it. But I just feel like with Whitney and Justin, I feel like Justin ain't really trying to be bothered with the show. Like when they have conversations, because when I say I would like to hear it, I would love to hear them have a conversation about like her perspective on monogamy and how he feels about it, and their more conversation about like the dynamic shift in their relationship. That would be interesting, but I don't know that we could really get Justin to be engaged in that on camera. And I think it shows even more when they go and do like next they go and do Meredith and is his name Seth? It's just I've been saying a lot of husbands' names today, and I'm jumbled, so forgive me. I think it's Meredith and Seth. They're doing their podcast, which I actually like. Like, I don't think this is a cheesy storyline, and I'm saying that because originally I would have thought it was a cheesy storyline with no substance, but I'm really enjoying it, actually. And I think it's a good idea that they had Whitney and Justin on there. And to my point, it just felt like when Whitney was sharing, Justin was not. There was a segment where Whitney said at the end, like, and to Justin's point, like, he's always been there for me, so now I'm trying to be there for him. So that when you say to somebody's point, you're referencing something that they said. So there also was like an inclination that like, okay, maybe Justin has been sharing, but they've been editing it out. But it just didn't feel like I could really get that dialogue from him. Almost to the point where it even felt uncomfortable when Whitney was, she brought up they asked about a hard time in the marriage, and Whitney brought up Justin's mother's death. And I'm like, well, that's, obviously Whitney was there, so I get what she's saying, but without hearing what Justin has to say about it, you kind of almost feel like that's Justin's information to share, right? And he almost seems a little bit timid on camera, probably also contributing to like, what happened with his job and like the stuff on the show. So I don't know if he's super comfortable. So I was just feeling like he looks a little uncomfortable to me, but maybe it was the way it was edited. I don't know. I say all that to say, I wish we could just get more open dialogue between Whitney and Justin, because it seems like they definitely have these conversations at home, but it's like you can tell that when they're on camera, it's like, So we get to this pioneer event that Heather is doing, and I'm trying to find a rhyme or reason as to why she's doing it. And there's not. But, she is saying basically she had the Bad Mormon book thing. She's glad the ladies came. She wants to thank them and, showcase the positive, what was her language, the fun things about pioneers, like their religion. So okay, I guess, but like even Whitney's like, but girl, you wrote a book about bad Mormon. So I understand, like, it's not like she was saying let's be bad Mormons, now let's be good Mormons, but it is confusing, but whatever. Monica gets there and she speaks to Lisa, and from what we see, obviously Lisa does not respond, and Monica laughs like, okay girl, we're doing this. So I do feel like that is, from what I see on the show, I feel like that was Monica's way of breaking the ice with Lisa, like at least speaking to her and starting the day off properly, but Lisa was not having it. So, okay. It really felt like they were in a mad dash to get to the meal portion, because we know the meals is where it goes down, the dialogue and all that other stuff. So they really churned butter for like 3 seconds, as a collective, but I did appreciate, even with the editing and with the ladies, it seems like everybody was in on the joke, and it was pretty brilliant that Meredith specifically was churning butter throughout this entire event, baby, even during the beefing. Okay, so I appreciate her to being committed to the gag. And then, I guess another Mormon fun event or whatever is to make dolls. So they make dolls, and I guess they're supposed to like characterize the dolls. So they go down the line naming their dolls, and then Monica, again, trying to find a rhyme or reason. She has this doll that she calls Molly the Mormon, and she's like, because Molly is me, and or was once me, and she wears a scarlet letter A because she is a black sheep in the group, and it represents forgiveness and being accepted back into the group. And I'm like, performative. Like, it just felt very like pick me. Like, I didn't get any context that again, we were sprinting through it, but I didn't get any context that exercise was for the purpose of deep conversation about Monica's feelings. Like, I didn't get that interpretation. So I'm like, what is she trying to get into? And I just felt like, hate to be this person, but it just feels like we'll get there. So things aren't spicy enough. So Heather puts on her producer hat, and she's like, we're going to play this game because allegedly this is what the Mormons played back in the day. And it's called Who's on Your Wagon? And it's where you are in a group of, 6, 7, 8 people. And you're going to single out one person very messily to say, you have to get off of my wagon. And I'm going to, not everybody here is beefing. So I'm going to start with Lisa. And that's pretty much what Heather has pulled together for us to highlight the fun parts of being a Mormon. So great, I'm open. Let's get into it. I love a game. Immediately, which shocked the hell out of me, I'm like, had Monica done something to Lisa that day? Because my girl Lisa is just like, well, I'm all about women, love women, empowering women. So the only person here that does not do that is mean and nasty to women, is, I'm gonna have to say, is Monica. And you're not on my wagon. So I'm like, oh. I have to go into defense mode for my girl, because I'm like, look, on the neg, Monica did speak to her. I feel like that was her olive branch, so I didn't see any time in this event where there was big beef. But to my girl's credit, the last time that they spoke wasn't great. They got into it, not once but twice. And so, girl, like, I'm not having it for you. And we're playing a game also. I would have to say, like, we're playing a game. I was asked, so I said it. Maybe there was a little bit more spice on there than it needed to be, but I said it. And okay. So in defense, I didn't think this was going to come back up. But in defense, Monica says, well, the person that's nasty here is you, because you brought up my mother and saying that she didn't want me. And they played the clip that they played a couple of times where, Lisa's like, nobody wants to be your mom, clearly. And I was wondering how Lisa will respond to that, because I do see, at first I didn't see it when it was said, like, I didn't even think about it, but when Monica expressed that it bothered her, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see. But I was like, I wonder if that was Lisa's intention. But as I watched it more, I'm like, maybe it was. So I'm like, I wonder how Lisa's going to respond. Like, is she going to say that was her intention, or is she going to try to defend it? She does neither. Like, she immediately goes back at Monica with a very valid point, and she's like, you speak about your mother terribly. Like, you called her Ted Bundy. And that is technically a fact. Also, I just don't remember it being a part of Monica's story, because Monica has had several points about her mom, but I don't remember one of the sore spots being my mom didn't want me. I just don't remember that. But Monica tends to get triggered by a lot of things, like each episode, so I can imagine that it's somewhere there, but I haven't heard it, so I just don't. That's why I didn't pick up on it. I didn't think that that's something that Lisa was picking at, but maybe I missed something. So, they keep going and going, and it's just a lot of yelling, like, you're mean and nasty, and name calls, and the uglies, and the da-da-da-das. And basically, the ladies are like, okay, Monica, like, too much. And I can see from an optic standpoint wondering why they are more so like, oh, Monica, you're tripping, like you're doing too much. But I had to think back because it was very chopped and screwed. We didn't get to see much. I had to think back to what I know from seeing Monica. I don't know, wasn't there. But when Monica's in these type of situations, we just talked about this, she communicates like a child and she barks and she's always throwing insults and attacking. Was she responding to Lisa? 100,000 billion trillion percent. I'm just talking about the way that she communicates is probably the reason why they singled her out and was like, you're wilding. Because I don't think there's a team like, oh, let's support Lisa against Monica. I don't think that that's the case at all. But I think that they're listening to the way that Monica reacts to stuff, coupled with how she has been doing it all season. But I think they got a taste of it very early on in Palm Springs when she was on the bus and did this same thing with Lisa. So it's like at this point, it's old and it's tired. And I will also have to say that I think that Lisa does have I don't think she was just throwing out insults like Monica insults Lisa, like calling her ugly like she did in the last episode. So I think she had a valid point of saying that she felt like Monica doesn't uplift women. She's nasty and she's mean because she was insulting her. And up until this point, I don't feel like Lisa was insulting Monica. That was my note way back when. I'm like, whenever they get into a spat and Lisa makes a valid point, Monica just starts throwing insults. So I think that the sequence of events makes sense to me. But yet again, adding to the list, Monica's like she feels triggered because, and I didn't even really listen to it, but I'm sure I can pull it from my context clues. She feels triggered because the ladies automatically took Lisa's side and they didn't have her back. And I guess now she feels kind of like isolated and she needs to be on the defense. And then you also, the tagline is always because that's something my mom used to do. So at this point, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it just feels so performative and I just really don't know how to feel about it. Like, I just really don't know. Like, again, for the 100th time, like, I definitely feel like there's validity to her feelings and her experience with her mother. But it feels like they're being used and amped up and performed up. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like, like you do this a lot. And then you start to feel like I said, I'm sitting here questioning it. Like, I don't know. But then when Monica goes off to the side, it's just like, I feel like it shed more light on me at the end of this episode. Heather pulls her aside and she's like, girl, we got to pull this together. Like, at the end of the day, we're supposed to be, announcing this trip. So the plan was for you and Lisa to get back on good terms. And this is, the opposite. So how are we going to do the trip? And Monica's like, I'm not going. Like, I don't feel like I should go. And at that point, that to me felt like playing victim. Because now she's acting like, oh, I'm so isolated and the group has me over here. And I just don't feel that way. Like, I don't feel like the group has made her feel that way. I think that Monica is doing that to herself. Like, I think that she's really pulling the victim card because, again, same thing she does with her mom. It just never feels like okay, yes, this happened to me. That's valid. But what am I doing to contribute? And Monica does everything to contribute to the dynamic that she has with these group of ladies, especially in this moment. So now it's like, oh, you feel isolated, so you don't want to go on the trip. It felt corny to me. And this is what I mean. Like, sometimes you feel like you may be, even if I'm alone in this thought process, whatever, that's my opinion, but you don't want to feel irrational. And so then hearing Heather say, like, she's completely, like, she's interpreting the situation way differently. She's like, well, I mean, because basically Monica says, well, Lisa was attacking me. And Heather's like, she's like, it became a gang up, like you all were attacking me. And Heather's like, well, no, you and Lisa were going tit for tat. Like, you both were on the same level. Like, it wasn't a situation where Lisa was coming at you and you had nothing. Like, again, was she responding? Yes, but you're attacking and throwing responses right back. So don't act sad about it now. Like, that's weird. You can't do both. Again, even aside from Lisa, like, nobody in this group at all at any point ever made it of a like, oh, we're purposely trying to get against Monica. Like, if this is happening right now, to which it has not happened at all. Like, we've been watching this season for a little bit. You've been getting into it with Lisa every single episode. There has not been any instance at all where everybody was like, Lisa, you're right. We hate Monica and let's team up. Like, that's never happened. So if it's happening now and everybody feels this way, I just feel like there's a common denominator here. That's all I'm saying. Like it can't just be a pattern of everybody's against Monica. Like for what reason? Like I don't understand what is Monica's mom and this group of ladies gaining from being like, let's just be all against Monica for no reason? Is this a weird narrative to have? I did really like this part, made me feel like, oh my god, I hope that Lisa came up with this by herself in self-reflection, but it made me really think like, did somebody get into her ear and give her some really good advice? Because she comes up and she's like, well, I want to apologize and I want to get this like word for word, because I thought it was a good straightforward apology. She's like, I want to apologize for, I'm not going to get it word for word, but basically she apologizes for invalidating any of Monica's feelings as it pertains to her mom. Like if there's a rough relationship there, she's apologizing for not recognizing that. And she wanted to say, which I explained a long time ago, again, validating something that you're like, I hope this isn't irrational. She explained like, just because I said that what I saw in your mother was good, like her actions, that's not me saying that you couldn't also experience bad things with your mother. And I'm like, that's what I've been saying. But I just feel like Monica only highlights the bad stuff. That's all I'm saying. She plays it up. And I feel like Lisa feels that same way. But she apologizes for it. And then she even asks her to clarify, like, is this where we went missing? And this shed so much light on me that Monica had nothing to say. Like now of all times, you don't have anything to say. Like you're so verbal, and this lady has apologized to you already for what she suspects is the issue, and that's what it allegedly was. So she hit the nail on the head, and she's asking you, is that where we missed? And you're like, well, I don't know. You know. You know. You know that it was never that big of an issue. That's what you know. You know that this was just all performative. To her credit, she also does say, but I'll apologize to you as well for calling you ugly. So she's spot on as well. She's apologizing for the insults, so I'll take that. It also felt like to me, and not having more of a substantive, again, maybe right place, wrong time, wrong place, right time, whatever. Not acknowledging that Lisa was apologizing for what you claimed really bothered you, not at least acknowledging it. Like when she's asking you, saying, I don't know, not at the very least acknowledging it, not forgiving her and saying, all hail Lisa, she's the best lady in the world, at least acknowledging it, that invalidates the whole thing for me. Like that throws it off for me, because it makes me feel like you have an issue just for the sake of having an issue, right? You just have an issue with Lisa, not you have an issue and then you want to make a resolution. That didn't feel like, to me, you wanted to move forward. And then at the very end, again, it's not any coincidence that Heather finally jumps up and she's like, girl, because they're back at the table and Heather's like, okay, now that we've cleared that up, you got your apology, right? We're supposed to be moving forward, right? Now that we've done that, and Lisa announces to the table, she's like, we're going to be moving forward. Okay, now let's do the trip. And Monica, again, in my opinion, very pick me at the table. I'm not going. Like, I just don't feel like I should be going. Like, we just did that back there. Like, what more do you need to feel like, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, so what's the issue? Like at that point, I'd be like, so what's the issue? Like if you don't have a resolution on the issue and you still don't want to go on the trip, what is the issue? We're all here. We can discuss it. So that just makes me feel like, pick me. You don't have an issue. You just kind of play victim a lot like that, and things are convenient for you to use. That's what I feel, and I feel like the cast is starting to see it, and I don't give a damn how the viewers see it. Like this is fun. It's supposed to be polarizing so we can have conversation and do this and give our opinions, but the people that are there that are really experiencing it and have a relationship with her and have this dynamic with her, that's what matters. And if they're all seeing it, I think it only makes sense. But yeah, at that point, I just feel like Heather completely hit the nail on the head with what was going on with Monica, and we don't get any context, but she obviously picked it up from somewhere. So I mean, that's how I feel, and I mean, we'll have to see what happens in the next one.